Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're finishing up book 7 of the Ethics with chapter 14, where he wraps up the discussion of this last 4 chapters of the thing, dealing with the question of pleasures and pains. Right. So let's continue this. But what concerns the bodily pleasures must be examined by those who say that some pleasures, at least, are highly choice-worthy. For example, the noble ones, the beautiful ones, colossal ones. But that the body pleasures are not, that is, those pleasures with which the licentious person is, in other words, but not that not that the body pleasures, that is, those pleasures with licentious person concerned with. So therefore, in other words, there are pleasures. We have to do pleasures. There's some pleasures that are highly choice-worthy, but not the ones that are tied with the pleasures that are merely those of the licentious person concerned with. But why is it then that the pains contrary to bodily pleasures are bad or corruptions? For good is contrary to bad, right? Or are the necessary pleasures good only in the way that what is not bad is good? Or are they good only up to a certain point? So, therefore, some questions here. He has 3 questions. There's 3 questions. One is, okay, why is that pains contrary to the body are bad or corruptions? But why is it then that the pains contrary to bodily pleasures are bad? For good is contrary to bad, right? But are on or are the necessary pleasures good only in the way that they are not bad is good? So they're not good in the purest sense, but they're good in the sense that they're not bad, right? Or are they good up to a certain point? For in for in the cases of all those characteristics and motions that do not admit of an excess of what is good, there would not be an excess of pleasure either. So what about these? In other words, if you don't have an excess of what is good, what about all those characteristics and motions that do not admit of an excess of what is good? If there's no excess, then uh, therefore there would not be an excess of pleasure either, right? But for all those characteristics and motions that do admit of such an excess, there would be an excess also of pleasure. So therefore, those that don't have excess do not admit to a thing that would be more than that. But then there's do admit there would be a condition of that, right? Now there is an excess of bodily goods. And a person is base because he pursues that excess, not because he pursues the necessary pleasures. In other words, the necessary pleasures, the excessive bodily goods. And a person is base if he pursues the best. But of the necessary pleasures, but not because he pursues the necessary pleasures. For all in some way enjoyed refined foods, wine, sex, but not all do so as they ought. So that there's success, right? Food, wine, and sex, there are all some good to it. But if they go too much, excess, it becomes bad. But on the contrary holds, but the contrary holds in the case of pain. One does not avoid just excessive pain, but rather pain in general. So therefore, not only excessive pain, but all pain is bad. We want to avoid it. For pain is not the contrary. In other words, for pain is not the contrary of excessive pleasure, except for someone who pursues that excess. So if you're, in other words, if you're pursuing an excess, then there's pain. But it is not logically the excess of an excess, contrary to an excess. So therefore, what happens is that pain that pain, one does not avoid just excessive pain, but also pain in general. Now, one ought to state not only, in other words, now one ought to state not only the truth, but also the cause of this falsehood. For this contributes to the conviction, to the trust, the pistis of one has. For this contributes to the trust one has, the pistis, the conviction one has, right? One ought to state not only the truth, but also the cause for this falsehood, of what this thing. For whatever a reasonable explanation comes, for whenever a reasonable explanation comes to sight as to why a thing appears to be but is not true, this makes for a greater trust in the truth. So this appears to be, but it's not so. Therefore, we trust, and this makes for greater trust in the truth. So not only we must not only explain what the truth is, but the cause of the falsehood. Right? One must, as a result, say why it is that the pleasures appear more choice-worthy than other pleasures. Why the bodily pleasures? We must say why the bodily pleasures appear more choice-worthy than the other pleasures. Okay? Why do these appear more choice-worthy? Why do the bodily pleasures appear more choice than other pleasures? First, they expel pain. Okay? Bodily pleasures expel pain. Because of excessive pain, people seek out excessive pleasures and bodily pleasure in general, as though it were a cure. So, therefore, because people have pain, they seek pleasure as the opposite of pain, thinking that this will cure, that this excessive pleasures, and particularly bodily pleasures, will act as a cure. And such cures become intense, he says. The reason people do, in fact, pursue them, they're intense. In other words, he says, and the cures become intense. And the reason people do, in fact, pursue them, because they come to sight in contrast with the opposites. In other words, you feel pleasure. It overcomes the pain. You don't feel the pain. Pleasure is also held not to be a serious worth for these two reasons. And has been said, some pleasures are actions belonging to base nature. Some pleasures are actions belonging to a base nature, either base from birth, as in the case of brute animals, or through habit, as an example of pleasures of base human beings. And some pleasures act as cures of a deficient nature. And it is better to be complete rather than in the process of becoming so. So therefore, it's better not that you're becoming, in other words, you're needing this to kind of correct a deficiency. So it's better to be correct and in a good state than be in a process of becoming correct, right? Rather than the process of becoming so. These pleasures, because they arise only for those still in the process of becoming complete, are of serious worth, only act incidentally. In other words, these things that because these kind of things, these kind of pleasures are not good in themselves, but they're good for the purposes of helping you become better, right? To become complete. Pleasures act as a cure for deficient natures, right? Further, bodily pleasures are pursued on account of their intensity by those who are incapable of enjoying other pleasures. Those if you're incapable of enjoying other pleasures, the bodily pleasures are pursued on their intensity. At any rate, people foster in themselves certain thirsts. And when these are harmless, this is not reproachable. But when they are harmful, it is base. So you have certain thirst. If it's the thirst is not harmful, it's not reproachable. But if it's harmful, then it's reproachable and base, right? Base and therefore reproachable. For such people do not have other things from which they derive enjoyment, and that which is neither painful nor pleasant is painful to many. So therefore the question of the many, right? There's those and that which things that are neither painful nor pleasant is painful to the many, given their nature, because in other words, they want pleasure, they want something. So the average person, the median, the average typical person, in other words, that which is neither painful nor pleasant is painful to the many, given their nature. For a living animal is always toiling. So a living animal is working, toiling. Just as those who study nature also bear witness. As they assert, seeing and hearing are painful. Hearing and seeing and hearing are painful. Though by now we are accustomed to them. And similarly, during youth, because of the process of growth that occurs, people are in a condition like those who are like drunk in that sense. And therefore, during the process of growth that occurs, people are in a condition like those who are drunk. And youth is youth is as a result pleasant. They're getting some pleasant. The body's thing. Youth is pleasant. But those who are melancholy, okay, this is the melancholy, but in nature, on the other hand, are always in need of a cure. So their nature is always, in other words, when you're growing and you're growing and you're getting the growth and like this, the body is feeling. There's always going to be pleasures and pain. It escapes pleasures and pains. That therefore the body is always kind of like drunk in that sense, right? And as a result, those in the process of growth that occurs, people are in a condition of like those who are drunk, and youth is always that's pleasant, right? But those who are melancholic nature, and on the other hand, are always in needs of a cure, for their body is constantly being stung because of the bending of the humors within it, and they are always in the grist of an intense longing. So this melancholy nature, they have this longing. They need a cure. They're always in need of a cure. Their body is constantly being stung because of the bending of humors within it. And they are always in the grist of an intense longing. And pleasure drives out pain. Both the pleasures contrary to the relevant pain and any chance pleasure, providing it is intense. So both the pleasure contrary to the relevant pain and any chance pleasure, providing that intense. It is for these reasons too that people become licentious and base. They come, in other words, they habituate. Because they want to avoid the pain. They avoid the pain. The pain is driving them, and they want to avoid it so much they succumb to pleasure, excess pleasures. Not only that, not only the pleasure to correct, but any chance pleasure as long as it's intense, right? And this is they become habituated to this, and they become licentious and base in that sense. But the pleasures unaccompanied by pains do not have an excess. And these fall among the things pleasant by nature and not incidentally. So, in other words, there's pleasures that unaccompanied by pains, and that they do not have an excess. And among these things, and these fall among the things pleasant by nature and not incidentally. And I mean by things pleasant incidentally, those that serve as cures. In other words, the incidentally ones they serve as cures, pleasures that cures, because it happens that people are cured when that which remains healthy in them acts. These cures seem to be pleasant. But things pleasant by nature are those that prompt an action belonging to the healthy nature. So the healthy, in other words, things incidentally things, these are cures. But once they're cured, they're prompt. Once things that people, it happens that when people are cured, when they that which remain healthy in them acts, right? These cures seem to be pleasant in that sense. But things pleasant by nature are those that prompt an action according to a healthy nature in that sense. They prompt an action belonging to a healthy nature. So the incidentally things serve to cure and make better. Take a health nature that is not healthy, it helps them to become healthy. But once they're healthy, then they will pursue what? They will act in them when they are cured, when they remain healthy, healthy in them acts. Now, these things, these cures, are pleasant. But the pleasant by nature are those that act within them, what is the healthy nature we react to, right? Yet the same thing is not always pleasant on account of our nature. The same things is not always pleasant on account of our natures not being simple. So therefore, our our natures are not simple, and because of that, the same things may not. The same things is not always pleasant because of this. Rather, something else is pleasant in us as well, and hence we are subject to destruction. Right, 60. Following this reading of Bywater, Ferreterrae, itself being based on the commentary of Apspatius, right? Reading of the manuscript of Paratai would give us, but something else is presented in us as well. Hence, insofar as these things are subject to destruction. So, in other words, this is that. So, therefore, there is something in us as well, and hence subject to destruction. And these things are subject to destruction, such that as when, such that when the one part acts, this is contrary to nature. When this when this one part acts, this is contrary to nature with respect to the other nature. But when both are equally balanced, the action performed seems to be neither painful nor pleasant, neither painful nor pleasant. So in other words, that this one is wrong and it's painful or balanced, right? In other words, rather something else is present in us, such as that when one part acts, this is contrary to nature with respect to the other nature, right, of the thing. And when both are equally balanced, the action performed seems to be neither painful nor. For if someone's nature were simple, the same action would always be most pleasant. Okay, that's why it's not. Our nature is complex. Therefore, something that couldn't be at one time beneficial, good, can also be another time bad. Something good for one part of us is not necessarily good for the other part of us. So, therefore, this is why. Uh, uh, for if someone's nature were simple, it's the same actions would always be pleasant. The God always enjoys a pleasure that is one and simple. For there is an activity not only of motion, but also of motionlessness. And pleasure resides most in rest than in motion. So therefore, the God has a simple pleasure. It's that of not only of motion, but of motionlessness. And the pleasure that resides more resides more in rest than in motion. But but change in all things is sweet, as the poet has, and this is Euripides, Orestes, right? Has it. The poet has it on account of a certain defective condition. Here, Aristotle uses the term poria as usually translated as wicked, but he may be, in fact, playing with the fact that the term has both a moral and non-moral use. So, pornea usually is wicked, right? That a defective condition. This is a certain wickedness or a certain defectiveness of this, right? In other words, but change in all things is sweet, as the poet, on account of a defective condition. For just as the defective person is a human being who readily undergoes change, so also the nature in need of change is defective. For it is neither simple nor decent. Right? That's the problem. Is this that here is that the unchanging creature, this idea here. For just as the defective person is a person who undergoes change, so is nature in need of change defective. So human nature is therefore defective from the point of view of the divine, of the simple. So therefore, the problem here is that there's not this motionless, perfect thing of the gods in that sense, and that therefore there is this going to be complexity of nature. This is why even pleasure is a complexity, because if it was, if we were God, simple beings, then it would always be good and always be bad. But because we're in a state of becoming and coming to be and passing away, there is something that may be good at one stage of our life, may not be good in another stage of our life. Something may be pleasant in one stage, then if a pleasant in one stage may not be pleasant in the other stage. It may not be it may be good, but it may not be pleasant. Right? This is that weird thing in that sense. We undergo change in that sense, and we're not simple. We're defective in this sense. Nature is not perfect or unchanging. The problem is that this higher thing is motionless. The motionless change. This is this perception of the simple, and that God always enjoys pleasure in one is one and simple. Because why? It's the activity that is not only emotion but also motionless, and pleasure rests more than motion, right? So let's look at the last paragraph here. The last paragraph is simple. What concerns self-restraint and lack of self-restraint, then, and what concerns pleasure and pain has been stated. Both what each is and how it is that some speak of them as good and others bad. But what remains, we will speak about friendship now. So we'll speak about friendship. This is he hints he'll have to speak about friendship. What remains? We'll speak about friendship. Okay, this is a question of a good, of human good. A human good. In that sense, we'll speak about friendship, and that's where we'll turn to friendship. Well, so we're stopping here. If you have any comments or questions or issues about this last chapter, please put it here, chapter 14, and I'll respond to them when I see them. If you have any things you want me to explain or you need more clarification, please tell me and I will respond to it. If you like it, hit the like button, hit the plus, thumbs up it. It helps the algorithm. It helps us get things. If you've liked it, share it with a friend, share it on social media, share it far and wide. Again, when you share things, it helps the algorithm out again, get attention for the site in this video. The other thing you can do is if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel to grow and to get more rights and privileges. If you bring this channel, if you know, tell others about the channel, introduce them to them, please get them to come look and check us out. And maybe they'll like it. Maybe you know someone who likes these issues and topics or issues and interested in either the Aristotle we're doing now or the other things we covered here. Go check the videos out. please get them to come and encourage them to subscribe also. Again, I'd like to grow the channel. Now, if you didn't like what I did here today, you can always thumbs down it, but say why in the comments. This way people can benefit and learn from it. We can all benefit and learn from it in that sense. Another thing you can do is if you want to follow me on social media, the links are below, my social media links below. If you want to know more about me as a researcher and a scholar, you can look at my research and things like this. You can check my academic social media links below my social media links. Another thing you do is you want to help me to do what I do. You want to contribute financially to what do I do here in that sense. You can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar, links below. Or you can buy one of my books. My books available books are listed below. You can buy it either through your local bookstore or an online bookseller like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatever. Or you can buy it from the publisher itself, directly through the publishers. That's some ways. Some may be harder than others. And that's it. Where next time we'll look into books. Start book 8 of the politics, but of the ethics. Which we and 8 and 9 are the books on friendships. They're kind of like a digression. So we'll look at 8 and 9, starting 8 and going through that. 8 will have 14 chapters dealing with the friendship, discussion of friendships. So we'll stop here. Take care and have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.